In this video, I'm going to talk about for loops and how they can be used in your Java program. So the first example here is going to be real simple. I'm going to create a for loop and show you the different parts to it. So I'm going to create a counter, a simple integer that's a counter, CTR, and I'm going to say I'm going to repeat this as long as the counter is less than, let's say, 10, and then I'll increment it by 1. Plus plus means add 1. You can do that to any variable actually. Okay, and then I'll say and 4. Make sure you put that guy in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to print out the value of the counter. The value of CTR is CTR. Okay. So this is what happens. We create a variable called CTR counter. We set it equal to 0. We say as long as 0 is less than 10, which it is, I'll do this statement. I have 1 here, but it could be multiple statements. Then after I do that, I increment it by 1, I add 1, so then I go back over here. Is 1 less than 10? That's true, so I do it again. So I'll print out the value of 1. 2, is 2 less than 10? Yes. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you can see my mouse looping here. 8, 9, 9 is less than 10, that's true, so to do that. But I will go to 10, but I'll say is 10 less than 10? That's a false statement. So since it's false, I will not do it. And then I'll end. So you can see here this first part is only done once when I first enter the for loop. All the work is done right here. So the loop is happening right here. So let me compile that, close it, and let's run it. And you can see here it goes 0 through 9. And when it gets to 10, it will not do the 10th one because 10 is not less than 10. It's equal to 10. Okay. Now where for loops are really useful with arrays, which are like A cartons. You can hold multiple elements. So I'll say I'm going to create an array, int, you simply put brackets there, I'll call it nums, equals new int, and I'll make 12, like an A carton. Okay? And a for loop it's the same thing, except I use the word index because each element of the array is referred to by an index. I'll call it index equals 0, same thing. Index less than. Now we're not going to put the number 10 in or 12. An array knows how long it is, and we say nums.length. That is the length of the array, which I'll show you here in a second. Index plus plus 2, 3, and 4. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put into the array. I'll say that each index or each element will equal whatever index is, that value right here, times 2. So just double the value. Okay. Now what I'm doing right here in this for loop is I'm simply putting numbers into the array. I'm putting eggs into the carton, but I'm not printing it out yet. That'll be for another for loop down here. But what I can do, just so I can see what's happening, I can do system.out.print line, and I can say nums.length. Okay. The length of nums is that. So I can see what that actual number is that's being used right here. Okay, compile it. If I run it, it is 12. Okay, so we are comparing to number 12. All right, and if I were to make this number 5, it would know that the number is 5. Okay, so that automatically knows its length. What I'll do here is I'll create a second for loop. I'll say for int index equals 0, index less than nums.length. So we know that that's actually the number 12. Index plus plus 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to print out the value in the array. So this is the printing out for loop. System.out.print line. And I'll say nums index. Okay, so this for loop here, the second one if you want to call it, is putting numbers into the array, and this is printing them out. So it's the same idea. Notice I used the same index variable here. And on first look you might think it's a conflict, but in for loops, this variable is called a temporary variable. As long as the loop is executing, it exists. The moment we get out of the for loop or it ends, it disappears. So when we go into the next for loop, that's an entirely different index, so there's no conflict at all. So let's compile it. Looks good. Close it. And there we go. So each each value is 2 times the index value. So the 0 element is 0, 0 times 2, 1 times 2, 2 times 2, 3 times 2, 11 times 2. I never go to the 12th one. Okay. If I tried to go to the 12th one, if I said equals here, equals, that would put me at the 12th one, but there's only 11 elements, 0 through 11. There's 12 elements, 0 through 11. I don't have a box 12, which is actually the 13th one. So if I did that, I could compile it, but then when I ran it, I would get an error called out of bounds exception right here, because I'm trying to put an egg in the 13th element of the cardon. It doesn't exist. Okay, so let me close this up. So when we use for loops, we always want to do less than, but if you get that error, that means you're trying to go to put a value that in an array that doesn't exist. Okay, so that's a quick introduction to for loops and arrays.